Okay, today we start with the HCM front end and back end. Okay. Of course, first our step is organizational management. Okay. And we're going to see how we actually plan and lay out the entire hierarchy. Okay. And for that, first is HR, organizational management, plan, organization, and staffing. Okay. Um, Speaking of organizational management, that actually sets the baseline. Now, the baseline for the entire organization. Now, what happens is that when you are a consultant, you have to actually get the legacy data, which can be very old from previous years. So your organizational data will actually start from, let's say, 01. Okay. So that if you enter the record, if it is a multinational company or a big company or a legacy company, which has been running for over a century, of course, then of course there are companies, of course, like that. So you have to enter the exact date so that any records that are that very old do not conflict. Okay. So I'm just taking from previous year, January 1st. Okay. So that if you have to enter anything from the previous year, we can do that. Okay. Okay. Come on. The server is slow, so bear with us. Current plan was set now. This is current plan. What is current plan? I'll explain this later when we reach that configuration node, that point. Okay. New organizational unit. You can create a new organizational unit. We will take up a case study of any company. Okay. And let's do it from here. Let's take what? L. Or maybe you can take your company. Okay. Huawei. Okay. Organizational assignment. It's valid from because it was established as per the license in 1st of Jan last year. Okay. And of course, it can be different for every country. And for that, you'll have to make and create a new one. And transaction code is PPOCE, PPOS. Come on. Very slow, very slow, very slow. Safe. Come on. Just save it. Okay, it's it's saved. We haven't created any company code, personal area, personal sub area. I will create that in the configuration, but right now we're just going over. Yes. You want to save the data? Yes. What is controlling area? Master cost center. We'll also see this. Come on. Very slow. Server is very slow. I don't know why, but although our lecture was a bit short today, but and I wanted to cover two, and it's taking too much time. So I should be a little fast. Okay. Organizational plan, expert mode, PO10, organizational unit, job position, work center, task catalog. Generally, we'll cover this. Just an overview, basically. Okay, now over here we have current plan, Domino's version, KFC. Now, what is a plan version basically? Now, every SAP landscape will be related to one client, okay, one customer, okay. So if you look at this, we have a client over here, 100. This is not a client as a customer, but this client is SAP server, not to be confused with this. So plan version. Now, if you're working with a company, for example, as we have said, Huawei, so your plan version will be called as Huawei plan. Okay, that will be the landscape, and the organizational unit is already made. We made that in the previous tech Huawei. Okay, and it has given allotted its the number. Now coming down, info type. Now info type is basically the heart and soul of HCM, SAP HCM object, and I will change it if I want to change anything, any details. Okay, any details. Okay, over here I can change, and if you look at it, the validity, of course, it's starting from last year, and I can change the topmost organizational unit. But that is that. Think what is meant over here. The purpose is that info types are the heart and soul and the lifeline of SAP HCM. Without info types, we cannot work in HCM SAP. So the whole SAP HCM depends on info types, and how good are you in making and connecting info types with the client is basically the crux of being the pleasure, the luxury of being SAP HCM consultant. Okay, so the whole of SAP HCM depends on info types. And what are info types? Basically, don't confuse yourself that info types are very technical. No, those are technical, but basically info types define objects like department, jobs, positions, and the relationships between all these within your organization. So SAP HCM depends on the time frame, the time dimension. Okay. So speaking of organizational structure, okay, organizational structure is basically the responsibility of the HCM consultant, SAP HCM consultant. Come on, I want to go. So, organization structure, yes, we've already made Huawei as your company, as your client company, as your customer company, and we will actually look at it. And Acha ji, okay, now we have created an organizational unit Huawei. What is a job? What is a position? Now, job is basically a definition of that position. Job is basically, for example, current plan, job. Let me pull out a job. Now, job is basically a title, manager. It's a title like manager. Now, manager can be production manager, HR manager, marketing manager. Okay. So this is manager Walmart. We'll create this in the later configuration stage. Okay, enter. Info type. Again, every node of HCM has um, an info type that defines it. An info type basically can be defined as that which lays out the features or specifies the features and specifications of any node. It can be a configuration node or an organizational unit. Okay. Now, abbreviation is manager Walmart. Object name is manager Walmart. Now, this manager can be where is broader term. So it's like titles in an organization: deputy manager, executive officer, senior manager, director. So this manager can be, this basically defines that manager layer is applicable to production, to HR, to finance, to sales, and any department. So this actually defines a permanent unit in a hierarchy. Okay. So if you see, this was valid since 2022. So that means when you are creating your customer's company, you have to make sure how old is that company, and based on that, you would establish that company in SAP from that date. It could be 50 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 15 years from today. I mean, in the past. Okay. So this is a job. Job is not what a person does. Job is just a title that is defined in SAP. Position. Now, what is position? Let us just check that. Now, position is basically an extension. Let me pull that again. So position is an extension, an explanation to the job. Okay, like this: HR manager, finance manager. Manager was the job. Any explanation extension to it will become position. Okay, but the relevant with the relevant department, it becomes a position. Okay. Oh, very disappointing, guys. Very disappointing. Oh, just it's the last part. I'm just waiting for it to come back.